What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Look who we got hanging out. It's Howie Mandel.
Really? And first of all, I want to say thank you for helping me with my hair.
Oh, yeah,
of course. Right before the show, he just, so that you're like a full service host.
Boom.
That was great.
Just got our shaves on. We're ready to roll.
There we go.
How's everything going?
It seems to be, I can't speak for everything, but I'm doing fine.
Yeah?
I'm doing fine. I'm busy. It's great to be here.
Nice. So before we get into all the good stuff going on right now, let's wind it all the way back. Let's go to Toronto. And
okay.
Let's go to Yuck Yucks. And
right.
First starting out.
Are you hypnotizing me?
I'm not going to hypnoticize you like you were on the show that one
Going
time.
back, I was. That was real. But, okay, it's Toronto.
Yeah, so Toronto, Yuck Yucks.
The 70s.
The 70s.
A dare.
Yeah, on
This
a
is
dare.
all based on a dare. My whole career. I dare you to have a career, somebody said. No, it was like the late 70s or mid 70s. And I went to a comedy club because they were all the rage at the time. Disco was coming out, was dwindling, and comedy was growing. And I went to see my first live stand-up show. And the host, Mark Breslin, said, "Anybody from the audience want to give this a shot? We do have an amateur hour." And the people that I was with said, "You should try it." And I don't think of any ramification. I went, okay, but I didn't prepare, and I had nothing. And I went up on stage and terrified.
I'm sure you were.
I was, but that terror became the fuel of my act. That terror bought me a house. You know, because I got up there and without thinking, I got up and the first thing you see is, you know, they went, "Ladies and gentlemen, Howie Mandel," and I show up on the stage and the audience is sitting there. There's people I didn't think about this. There's people sitting there waiting for me to do something.
Right.
And I had nothing. Nothing.
You had to think on your feet real quick.
No, I wish I would have used my feet. At that point, I felt like I should use them to leave. But I went, so I'm looking at people's faces like I'm looking at you, and I started going, okay. And people started, like you, they were laughing, and I was going, what? Right, and then that became the act.
Yeah.
And then because I have OCD in my pockets, not anymore because I'm medicated, but I wasn't at the time, I carry gloves because I don't want to touch things, and I had nothing to do, and I took the glove and I pulled it over my head, and I started breathing, and the fingers were going, and the audience was roaring, and it popped off, and I went, "Good night," and left. And then the owner, Mark, said, "Would you like to come back tomorrow?"
And you're like, "What? That's crazy."
Okay.
Yeah, you're
and
like,
then
sure.
I did. And one thing leads to another, and then you're on this. What am I on?
You were on CBS Digital right now.
I'm on digital.
Yeah.
Right. So it gets, you know, that one night, that one showcase grows, then you're on CBS Digital.
So when did you start to feel confident with the whole routine?
I'm not confident right now.
I know you're not confident.
No, but I never live confidently. I'm never confident.
I know that's your MO, but when does comedy at least become something that I think to myself, okay, this is something I could do going forward? How about that?
You know, the truth is that I do intellectually understand that I can and do make a living at it, but the fact is, and this is what I always look to do, you know, obviously after 40 years now in the business,
long time.
I have a plethora of material. I have enough exposure that people kind of know my name and they'll come out and see me. But I look to be taken off the path. So, you know, if you look at I have a special right now that you could download.
Yeah,
you know,
Showtime.
No, download.
Oh,
it's on every, you know, every possible. It aired on Showtime, but now you can download it everywhere on Amazon and Apple and wherever. And that's not for the whole family. But you know, you have material. But you'll see if you watch any of that, and this occurs all the time, there's always something that happens in the room. Somebody always yells something out. There's always, and I look to be taken off the path of whatever plan I have. And the second I'm off the plan, or I'm not doing the material that I had planned, terror. But that kind of fuel, that kind of terror, which I think is just going to be the end of me and the end of my career, is what seems to take over. And my analogy is I love roller coasters. And the higher it is and the faster it is and the closer you think you're coming to death, like, oh my God, I'm heading into that wall, or we're upside down and we're flipping, the better it is. And I feel the same way about comedy. So I never have, You know, I look at some people that I admire, and they seem to have like this air of confidence on stage.
Like who? Give me an example of people you admire.
Jerry Seinfeld, I think that is brilliant and a great wordsmith and material. But you know, he doesn't seem to. The more you take me out of my comfort zone, when I'm in my comfort zone and complacent, I don't feel I'm as good as when I'm not comfortable and I don't feel like I got this.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So you mentioned crazy roller coaster rides. How about doing Carson over 20 times? I mean, that must have been pretty wild.
Well, the point was that at that time, you know, the litmus test for any comic will tell you of my age, of being considered, even by the layman, a professional comedian, was the Johnny Carson show. You know, you'd walk up to somebody on the street, or they'd walk up to you and say, "What do you do?" when they don't know you. And if you said, "I'm a comedian," the normal knee-jerk reaction to that, well, have you been on Johnny Carson? You know, there isn't anything like that anymore.
No,
but if you said no, then they didn't think you were, you know, you think you're a comedian.
Didn't think you had made it. Yeah.
Right. So I auditioned for Johnny Carson many times, and I was told by the booker, I'm not his cup of tea. I will never be on. And I thought that's just a pinnacle that I could never hit. And as luck would have it, at that time, Joan Rivers was the fill-in.
Right.
And Joan Rivers was getting these humongous ratings every time she was on. And her, along with anybody else who was hosting, including Johnny himself, would come to the Comedy Store to try out their monologue, and just like people drop into the cellar here in New York. And that's where they would work out their stuff. So Joan Rivers was coming to work out her monologues, and I called Mitzi and I said, "Can you put me on like right before her so she could see me?" And Mitzi was nice enough to do that. I ended up that day having a raging fever, and I was really sick, but I showed up anyhow. And the adrenaline overtook me. I couldn't even stand up, and the adrenaline overtook me, and I did this set, and I crushed it. And as I'm walking off, Jonah's walking back, and she goes, "That's very funny." And then I was that's all she said. And I was waiting for her just outside the club for her to, she completed her set, the audience was going crazy, then she was, you know, schmoozing with a lot of the other comedians and other people she knew. It seemed like for an hour, I couldn't even, I felt like I was losing consciousness. My fever was raging, and I waited for her, and then she finally came down the stairs, and I tried to make eye contact, and I did, and she went, "You're very funny," and I went, "Thank you." She goes, "Have you ever been on The Tonight Show?" And I said, "No." And it's my birthday this week.
Oh, wow.
And she said, "Well, have your agent call this guy, Billy Samuth, who was her manager at the time." And he booked me that week on The Tonight Show.
Wow.
So I did The Tonight Show with Joan Rivers. As luck would have it, the following morning, I get a call from The Tonight Show. Johnny had watched and said, "Are you interested in doing it again in 2 weeks with him?" And I did it with him, and then I ended up doing it 22 times.
That's the ultimate stamp of approval right there.
Yeah, that was amazing, and that was a pivotal moment in my career. So I owe a lot and dearly miss the fabulous, brilliant Joan Rivers.
She was incredible. I mean, all-time great.
So.
Yeah.
Everything about her. Her work ethic, her heart, her, you know, she'd reach out and help somebody in a heartbeat. She's just a wonderful lady who I owe a lot to.
That's really cool. So, you know, when you're mentioning the whole rubber glove thing and the okay thing, you know, it'd be so different today with social media. Like if people had just seen you doing your thing there, like I feel like there was an organic experience in seeing you do the rubber glove thing for the first time in person, as opposed to watching it on YouTube. Like your whole career trajectory probably looks a lot different if it's in today in 2019.
Well, everybody's trajectory, you know, I tell that to people who are on America's Got Talent. You don't know, what I realized at this point in my career from this vantage point is you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
No idea.
You would think that one Tonight Show, you used to think if I could just get on the Tonight Show, then boom, it's going to blast me off. If I could just get onto the Comedy Store stage, you know, maybe me blowing up a rubber glove on YouTube would launch me even bigger and faster than I was today. The point is, you can't plan. And therefore, I just say, yes, just do it, like Nike says, just do it. Just do it any place, any time, anywhere. You don't know who's going to see what and what that collision of moments are that will launch you into another stratosphere.
Definitely. Yeah, so think about your career. I mean, you're doing the comedy thing, the acting thing, the voiceover thing. What were you thinking at the time in terms of where you wanted everything to go?
No thought. And I still don't have any thought. I really don't.
I know you're serious.
No,
it just blows my mind. You know?
Yeah, I just think that, first of all, if you set yourself a goal, I feel then you're saying, you know where I want to be? The glass half empty to that thought is, you know where I'm not?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm always, I try, and just because I have mental health issues, and it's just part of my therapy, I try to live in the now. And I always have, and I've always been, which has been equally a problem as much as it is a blessing. You know, I'm very impulsive, and I just do. You know, and because of that, I don't have a GED. I was asked to leave 3 different high schools. I didn't complete an education, which I feel bad about. You know, I wanted
things have worked out for you.
You know, I've got some notoriety and I've made some money, but the truth is that I am really curious and interested in having an education, and I read. You know, the point being that I just do what I do. So I did stand up on a dare. They asked me to come back. I came out here on a business trip for another business. Out here, I mean America. So I went to LA and the Comedy Store. I got up, a friend who I'd met, Mike Binder, who was a great writer, director, and a comic himself, you know, got me on stage at the Comedy Store while I was there on my vacation, and there happened to be a producer in the audience from a comedy game show called Make Me Laugh, who asked me if I wanted to be on it. I went, yeah. So I went and did that and went back to Canada. And that started airing, and people saw me. And then I got a call from the Merv Griffin show and from the Mike Douglas show, and those were young
big,
people won't know, but they were
those
big.
Are big shows. Yeah.
In the day.
Yes.
That was like the Ellen show is now.
Yeah.
So I did those, and then Gene Simmons of Kiss saw me on Merv Griffin and said, "Would you open up for my girlfriend? You know, she's going to be playing in Vegas." And I said, "Yeah, who's your girlfriend?" His girlfriend at the time was Diana Ross.
Wow.
So I became Diana Ross's opening. So I just fell into that.
Right,
I
just
went
this word of mouth experience.
Comedians were at the time in the early '80s. All of them were getting their own sitcoms. You know, Billy Crystal and was doing Soap, and Robin Williams was doing Mork and Mindy.
Right.
I went and met with MTM, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which was a huge comedy at the time. I went and met with that lot, and because my agent sent me in. Just because I was a comedian, I had done the Young Comedian special. On my Young Comedian special was me, Jerry Seinfeld, Harry Anderson, and Richard Lewis. We were the kids. And
how old were you at this point?
Pardon me?
How old were you at that point?
24.
Wow, that's quite a squad.
40 years ago. I'm 64 this year. So that took off, and you know I started selling tickets, and that's why they wanted to see me in casting. Molly Lapata, who is this casting person at MTM, said, "Can you act?" And I said, well, I don't know.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I'll try. And she said, "Read these sides." And I read these sides. I had no idea what I was reading. And she goes, "That's very good. Come down the hall." And I went down the hall. And I ended up reading, I had no idea who they were at the time, but Bruce Paltrow, Gwyneth's dad. And apparently they were doing this drama. And they'd shot for a week, and then they shut down, and they were recasting. And then they recast me that day as Fiscus in a drama which I did in the early '80s, a medical show. So me and Denzel started out there. That's where Denzel came from. I know it's crazy. I was a stand-up comic, and now I'm doing this drama. It's nothing I ever planned on doing. And then I have another friend who saw me doing, in my act, I would do funny little sounds and voices, which I had done in class, which I got from choking on a piece of cake. And I learned that if I cut off my oxygen like you do with a balloon, and you just, you know, you pinch the nipple of the balloon and the air's coming out, if I push my air, it's higher. So that became Bobby. And my friend was developing for the new Fox Children's Network, and he said, "You should do." And I go, I can't do Saturday morning.
Right.
And then we just told stories about our own children and things, and that became Bobby's World. And then after Bobby's World, because people knew I did voices, they hired me to do Gremlins, and they hired me to do Gizmo and Gremlins. So I wasn't going to be a voiceover guy. And then when I was about to leave my career in 2005, they asked me to be game show host, which I said no to 3 times.
That's right. Your wife wanted you to do it.
My wife wanted me out of the house. Is what she wanted. She wanted me out of the house. So, and then I got Deal or No Deal has been the biggest success, and being a judge on that I've ever had, and being a judge on AGT it wasn't even a job when I started out. You know, like when I started in the 70s.
Exist, yeah.
Did not exist. So I don't know what. So I've done. I continue to do, and I don't know what tomorrow brings. And
you
I
just
don't
kind
know.
of have fallen into all these different things.
For the most part, I would tell anybody, if anybody asks for advice, just say okay. Just say okay. There's a million reasons. I think us as human beings, our instinct is what makes us somewhat superior. And I think that we all as human beings overanalyze our instinct. You know, how many times have you not done something you go, I should have,
Right, I should have done that.
I would have. It's because you can always think. And what are you thinking about? Something bad that happened before, something bad or stupid that could happen to you in the future. The only thing that's real is now. So I don't set a path and I don't set a goal, and I know I'm doing this. And just by being on CBS local digital, right?
Yeah.
You don't know who's watching this and might say, you know
Sure.
what, I'm writing a movie. This guy is perfect.
Absolutely, yeah. There's
And,
eyes everywhere now.
You don't know.
No, you have no idea who's
But you
watching.
never know, even when there aren't eyes everywhere. It's just whatever that kismet is, whatever that moment in time that brings two thoughts together is what creates what the world is.
Yeah.
And we always, these best laid plans just don't seem to, don't plan. Just do.
Just do. Let's
If
go
you're
for it.
planning,
Yeah.
it means you're not doing.
Yeah.
Planning is not doing. Planning is a great excuse to not have it done yet. Don't worry, I'm working it. I'm working it. Have you handed in your script yet? I'm rewriting.
I'm tinkering with it a little bit, right?
But
it's
that's
like,
just
no, hand
you
it in.
can't be turned down. I know
Yeah.
it's scary to be rejected. It's scary
That's
to
a
be
part of the
turned down.
game, you know?
I'm constantly turned down.
Absolutely.
Constantly rejected. You have no idea how many ideas I come up with a day, and I'll call my agent and say, "See if you can get me in for this." See if you can, and how many no's still at this point.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen, we have people in here all the time. I'll reach out to other people, get a ton of no's as well. That's just a part of the game,
Right.
you know? And you just have to shoot your shot, and some of them won't go in, others will.
Thoughtless, no thought, fearless, thoughtless, and now.
I like it. So is it weird for you that a generation knows you as just a host and not a comedian?
Well, that was weird, and that's one of the reasons why, yes, they know me as a host, they know me as a judge, they know me as good family-friendly viewing, whether
Yep.
it be Deal or No Deal, which is Wednesdays on CNBC, or AGT, or Nat Geo Wild. I do
Yeah,
Animals Doing
that's
Things
right.
from my favorite Instagram site. So Howie Mandel's Animals Doing Things, 10 o'clock on Nat Geo Wild,
everywhere.
Saturdays. I'm everywhere. But I was aware that, you know, and I will have to say, my favorite thing and my most comfortable place is stand-up. And I started realizing that there's a whole generation, as you just said, that don't know me. So I recorded my first stand-up special in 20 years. And it's because the lovely people at the Hard Rock Casino in Atlantic City opened up the Howie Mandel room. They wanted to. They
Not a bad deal, right?
No, they honored me with that. So I went to the opening. I said, "Can I bring cameras?" And I shot my own stand-up. I still do, you know, hundreds of live shows a year.
You're touring
but
all
people-
the time. Yeah.
But people don't know that. So it's streaming. You can download it. Go to any place, any of my digital, and you can download it. The links in my bio. But so I kind of like that people are discovering me for the first time as a stand-up.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful, comfortable thing to be discovered for the first time after 40 years of experience.
Well, especially when you say that's your most comfortable place.
It really is.
And you feel so, you have such a lack of confidence in so many other parts of your life.
No, what I have
but comedy, you're
learned, but I'll
comfortable.
tell you something, what I've learned, and it came out of my mental health issues and awkwardness and just humanity, I'm really comfortable with discomfort, but I have to be uncomfortable.
And it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to live it.
I live it,
Yeah.
you know.
And you have been living it too. You've been very open about your mental health, and you've been very open about your OCD and other struggles like that. And that, I think that's a really important thing.
Right, but a big part of my personal coping skill is distraction. So being in the moment
Right.
is a great distraction.
Constantly working.
Feeling like I'm in trouble, feeling like I'm humiliating myself in front of thousands of strangers.
Right.
It really takes care of the voices in my head for the moment.
Quiets them down a little bit, right?
Well, I don't hear them. I hear my own personal struggle.
I hear you. So let's talk about Deal or No Deal. We were talking off camera before. It was 4 years on TV, then 10 years off, and then it's back. When did it become a thing for you that it was really going to stick?
Oh, I have never been more embarrassed and humiliated in my life. And it's the first time I said no. You know, when I got called to do Deal, I said no. Because in 2005, if you really could put yourself there, there was no comedians hosting game shows. In
Right.
fact, it was the punchline for comedians to be the host of a game show. So I said no. And when they explained the show to me, it was even more of a reason to say no. You know, because what was I going to do for an hour?
Right.
There's no...
Just hang out there and watch people open boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no trivia. There's no skill. There's nothing. And they said, we're going to have like 26 models. They'll be holding cases. And my job was to say, pick a case.
Right.
And then once they did, my job became open the case. So I said, like, I don't know how to...
There's nothing to it, yeah.
There's nothing. There's nothing. There's just nothing. It's nothing. And
but you still said no. You were just like, no, I'm not feeling it.
I thought it was, first I thought I was being punked.
Right.
And then I thought, this can't be good for my career. And everything they would tell me to try to entice me made it worse. They said, you know what, it's never been done before, but NBC is giving 5 hours of primetime TV in 1 week. I went, like, even if you're going to sink, this is like a nuclear explosion of a
It's one way to go out, right?
Yeah, and then my wife said, do it, and I did it. And when I went on stage, you know, it wasn't a place for me to be funny. It wasn't a place. It's the first time in my history in show business where I was just myself, you know, where I was just showing up to, well, I had ideas of how I was going to be witty and funny and entertaining, but once I looked a real person, the contestant in the eye, empathy kind of surfaced, because first and foremost, I'm a human being, and,
right,
I'm a father.
Their livelihood's on the line here, potentially, right?
And I don't want to distract, and I don't want to make it about silly me, because the difference between you walking out of here with money or not, I don't want to be responsible for not.
Right.
So I threw all my material by the wayside, and it just became about focusing on you making decisions, and even if it was in as far as me kind of enunciating what the offer was, so that you would see the gravity of what this means. You know, you tell me you've never owned a home, you've never had health insurance, you have 3 kids. It's important for me to tell you the offer is $56,000. Now, where you live, how long would it take you to make 56,000? So it became about that. And
emphasizing those little things along the way.
Just the way you would try to talk to your child or somebody you cared about, you know, to get them to make their own decision, but make the right, I'm not making the decision for them. And I was so embarrassed at the end of the taping because I felt like I didn't do any great material. I didn't do any great acting like that is on some script that was written for me. So I just got to get out of here. And we got on a plane and I flew down to the Caribbean where there was no TVs, really far down the Caribbean. And
totally off the grid?
Off the grid, but not enough so that I couldn't get a phone call on that Monday saying, you're not going to believe this. This just went through the roof. And then Tuesday, it's even bigger. And Wednesday's even. And when I got back, I landed in Miami. And within 30 seconds of coming through that gate, the first person looked at me and went, deal or no deal?
Wow.
And that became my catchphrase.
Yeah.
And I love that catchphrase. I know people. I know that people get tired of catchphrases. People in my business who get something and they go, I've heard that already. That's the best trap I've ever been in my life, and I never wanted to get out of it. So much so that it was saving the network at the time, and so they ended up putting us on almost every night and burnt us out. So I say it was on for 4 years, but it was like 300 to 500 episodes.
And it was on all the time.
All the time, and in reruns, and on cable, and reruns. But I stopped doing it for 10 years, and I said, this is so great. I just want to keep doing it. And lo and behold, CNBC was nice enough to say, come back and do it here. And they ratcheted it up. You know, now it's the same game for $1 million, female banker, but the beauty is they can negotiate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good thing,
too. So that
too.
gives them, they get 1 negotiation per game. So it puts a little more control into the hands of the contestant.
Definitely. So you said you were just being yourself. How scary was that compared to being out on stage doing stand-up?
Well, now I'm comfortable. You know, even this conversation I'm having with you, but the first time I even learned I can have this kind of conversation was Deal or No Deal. Because I would appear on the couch on The Tonight Show or anything and just try to be silly and entertaining.
Sure, you had a shtick,
Yeah, and do shtick.
Yeah.
And I realized that, you know, people identify maybe with a real person. It makes you more authentic. So even this conversation I'm having with you now wouldn't have happened had I not, or it wouldn't be like this. I might be on this show.
Sure. It'd be much different,
But
though.
you wouldn't get a straight answer out of me, or I would have prepared. some
Canned
shtick.
answers, yeah.
Yeah, or some shtick that I
Sure.
would do on the show, and now I feel comfortable kind of just being myself.
So therapy changed that, or what do you think the big
I
thing
think
that
it's a
changed it?
combination of therapy and age and medication and the people I surround myself with. But I say that I'm comfortable with my discomfort. I'm never totally comfortable. You know, maybe for moments when I'm totally alone.
Sure.
But if I feel that somebody's looking at me or listening to me, it's just, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and it's not only just a one-to-one thing. I mean, you're doing it for millions and millions of people with the work that you do too.
So millions and millions are watching.
Well,
this
I don't
right
know
now.
about with this one here, but
No,
I'm saying
but this one is millions.
this one will get thousands. We'll say hundreds of thousands.
Well, that scares me. So why don't you just say like there'll be at least 15, and that way I'll be more comfortable.
There we go. Yeah, at least 15 people.
Wow. And you know who you are.
So Howie, why don't you tell everybody where they can check out all your great stuff right into this camera here?
This
So-
camera
yeah,
right here.
ahead.
Okay, so you could see America's Got Talent Tuesday nights on NBC at 8 o'clock, 7 Central. You can see Deal or No Deal and maybe win $10,000 at home or watch somebody win $1 million on TV.
Pretty good deal.
At
Yeah.
CNBC, and that's 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. On Saturday nights, you can go to Nat Geo Wild at 10 o'clock and watch Howie Mandel's Animals Doing Things. Or anytime you want, you can download my stand-up comedy special called Howie Mandel Presents Howie Mandel at the Howie Mandel Comedy Club. I got my name.
Not to be
into it.
redundant or anything,
No,
right?
no.
It's like you and Strahan are competing for every day of television at this point.
He's working a lot more than me.
I mean, you're pretty close.
I know, but my schedule is not that bad. AGT is the easiest job in the world.
You got to have some breaks in there too.
This is my break.
There you go. Talk
That's
to me.
why- It is. I'm enjoying it too.
Well, Howie, it's been awesome, man.
Oh, it's over.
Yeah, it's over. Anything else you want to get out there?
See, now it's uncomfortable. No, because I was just getting going.
You're
and I
just
felt
getting
like,
going.
I felt like we're halfway through, and now I was just about to peak, and you say goodbye. You leave. I'll stay.
You're going to stay. Well, all right, why don't you close this out then?
Then you leave.
I'm going to leave. I'm going to walk
Okay,
right off.
What information do you give the audience?
You tell them whatever you want to tell them. It's all you now.
Is this it? CBS Local
This is-
Digital
yeah.
Studios?
Yep.
And tune in. You never know who'll be here next time. This is really exciting. I love when this reminds me of when, that's why I don't like going to parties, because I never know when to leave. And there's always somebody upstairs going, you go tell him the party's over. Just start vacuuming. He'll leave. This show is over. There's no host. There's nothing. I'm just here alone. I think you should click onto something else. Don't watch any more of this. I'm going to be here. You go do what you want. Thank you.